Hello, welcome back to Origami Yoda. Yesterday we read Cavando and the Cheeto Hog, right? So we learned all about poor Cavando at the zoo, and then everyone started bullying him and being mean about eating all of his Cheetos, even though I probably would have too. And then he really cared about proving everyone wrong. They wasn't a Cheeto hog. It's a pretty funny chapter. Okay, so today's chapter is Origami Chewbacca. Origami Chewbacca in the Unsigned Suspension Slips by Tommy. So that's our narrator. I've asked Dwight many times to write a chapter for this case file. He refuses to do it. But one day when I asked, he said, "You should put these in." And he pulled a bunch of papers out of his backpack. Most of them were just crumpled up, but one had been folded into what I think was an origami Chewbacca. Either that or a gorilla with a tie on. It wasn't nearly as good as Origami Yoda. When I uncrumpled and unfolded the papers, I discovered that they were notes that were sent home to be signed by his parents, which had never been signed. So this one says, Student Dwight Tharp, teacher Mr. Howell. Time 8:36 a.m. Other. Refuses to remove finger puppet during Pledge of Allegiance. So he got an in-school suspension for refusing to take off Origami Yoda during the pledge. Here's the next one. You ready? Dwight Tharp, Mr. Howell. Time 10:06 a.m. April 4th. Other. Student was asked to work on math problems on board. Ate chalk instead. So he goes, the teacher hands him chalk to do math problems, and he eats the chalk instead of doing them. Here's another one. Other. Refusal to remove finger puppet during standards of learning testing. Also, they're taking like a state test, and he won't take the finger puppet off. And then down here, other. Failure to return any of previous in-school suspension slips with parent signature. He doesn't return any of them. They just get crumpled up. So before I move on, why do you think Dwight asked Tommy to put these slips in his book, in the case file? Like, why do these detention slips matter? Do they show anything? Okay. Another Tommy chapter. Dwight in the fight. Ooh, I like that. Dwight in the fight. This story is weird for a lot of reasons. First of all, it should be Caroline who tells it. But for some reason, she refuses to talk to me about Origami Yoda for Dwight. Second of all, Origami Yoda doesn't really do much, but he is the whole reason for the story. That won't make sense after you've read it. The other thing that's weird is that I almost got beat up trying to find out what happened. Here's how it all started. This girl, Caroline, came over at lunch. Now, you know that I like Sarah and Kellen likes Rondella, but no one can deny that Caroline is amazingly cute too, and cool too. But other than sitting on the stage near her during every fun night, I don't really know her since she's in 7th grade. She is kind of famous at school because she's a lip reader. She wears hearing aids, but I've heard that she can tell what you're saying just by watching your mouth move. I guess she must be deaf, but I've never seen her use sign language, and she seems to talk all right, although she doesn't say much during fun night. Anyway, she came over at lunch one day to talk to Origami Yoda. It looked like she had been upset. maybe even crying. But now she was just mad. Do you have Origami Yoda today? Uh-huh, said Dwight, with his mouth full of food. It's bad enough that he talks to other people with food in his mouth, but this poor girl had to try to read his lips while meat chunks were dribbling out. He pulled Origami Yoda out of his pocket and put it on his finger. Well, can Yoda help me do anything about Zach Martin? Look what he did to these pencils my grandma gave me. She held up 3 pencils, all snapped in half, which used to have her name on them, but her name had gotten snapped in 2, like this: Caroline Broom, or Caroline Broom. Why did he do that, I asked. He just wanted to show off that he could snap pencils one-handed. So he grabbed them off my desk and snapped them all at once. I just got them last night. I hadn't even sharpened them. I had tried this stunt once myself, with my own pencil, of course. You can put your middle finger under the pencil and the other fingers over it. Then you slap it down on your desk. In my case, the pencil just cracked a little, but my fingers hurt like crazy. Doing 3 at once would probably break my knuckles. Zach's always doing stuff like this, and I want Yoda to tell me how I can stop him. That was a tough one, even for Origami Yoda, who sat there on Dwight's finger, apparently thinking it over for a while. Then Origami Yoda whispered in Dwight's ear. Psst, 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 psst. Dwight actually whispered something to himself. Finally, Dwight turned to Caroline and said, I'll take care of it. What? Brayed Harvey. What are you going to do about it? I was thinking the same thing, and I bet everyone else was. And I bet everyone else, including Dwight himself, was too. Dwight looked down to the other end of the cafeteria where Zach was eating by himself. It's hard to miss Zach, since he's about 2 feet taller and 150 pounds heavier than anyone else in the 7th grade. In fact, he's closer to Mr. Howell's size than to ours. I think he failed 2 or 3 times and is probably about 15 years old. I had trouble with him once. I'd called some kid an idiot, and the kid turned out to be Zach's cousin or something. So later that day, Zach told me not to do it again, while squeezing the bejesus out of my arm. Another time, he punched Harvey in the back really hard. Harvey said it was for no reason, but probably Harvey had said something smart-alecky and deserved it. Anyway, Zach is best avoided at all times. Dwight turned back to Caroline and said, Yes, I'll take care of it. You don't have to do anything, she said. I just thought Yoda might know some kind of magic way to get Zach to stop. I'll take care of it, he said again, and got up and took his tray to the trash cans. Okay, so for your response today, we're going to stop in the middle of chapter 11, and I want to ask you, what do you think Dwight will do about Zach Martin? And so, just like yesterday, I wrote a example of how your response can go. I think Dwight will blank. I think this because blank. Also, blank. And notice how in my title, I wrote my name. So I wrote Mr. L's response. So I want you to do the same thing. Christian's response. Lucas's response. Manny's response. Get it? Paola's response. That kind of thing. Okay? And I hope we get 22 responses this time. Hopefully this is better than Jamboard and no one is deleting them. All right. Thank you.